Welcome everyone to the 2013-14 ECAC hockey season in our annual Men's Media Day. For those who do not know me, my name is Ed Krajewski. I'm the Assistant Commissioner. I work with Steve Hagwell. Today we're live at the Conference Center at Lake Placid, which is adjacent to the 1980 rink, Herb Brooks Arena, which is going to be our new home of ECAC hockey for our men's championship beginning this March. In addition to fielding some questions from members of the media out there, we will have a different twist and format to this year's event. We are streaming our event live on our website, and we had set up a private chat line for today and actually previously during the week, which we received some questions throughout the week, so the media members who couldn't make it would still be able to participate. So we're looking forward to doing that. It's a very exciting time for the league, coming off a very successful campaign, as you know, where 3 of our teams went to the NCAA tournament. Our league actually posted the best interconference record among all the college hockey leagues. 2 of our teams, as you know, went to the Frozen Four, advanced to the Frozen Four, with Yale eventually claiming the top prize. And we're looking forward to continuing that momentum as we place our stamp in the college hockey world. And here are the guys who are going to make that happen. We have all of our coaches on stage in 2 rows, a different format than in previous years. We'll be addressing them with various questions throughout the day. First off, we're going to call up our commissioner, Mr. Steve Hagwell, to welcome everyone.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here. Ed and I should have corresponded on notes because he stole a lot of my thunder on exactly what I was going to say, so I'll just kind of wing it a little bit. But I do want to take a few moments before I get into my remarks to thank a number of individuals who are here today and helping to make our job a lot easier. First of all, our coaches. I know it's a very busy time for them, recruiting-wise, and kids being on campus with school in session. So, guys, thank you for taking your time to come up here. And on behalf of the league, we thank you, Ed and I, for everything you've done so far, and we're looking forward to a great year. So thank you very much. Myriad Productions, who are streaming our event today. Chris, Bo, and Ralph, thank you very much. They came up yesterday morning or maybe the night before and have put in yeoman's work for us. So thank you for what you're doing for us. And certainly the most important group, the staff from ORTA, led by Ted Blazer, Katie, Denny, Jeff, John, etc., for everything you've done to make this our home. It certainly feels great to be back, a very special place, and we're very happy to be here. And I said most importantly, but Ed, I want to acknowledge you for everything you've done. Ed has done everything. I've just shown up today and yesterday, so Ed, thank you very much for doing everything for this week. It is a very exciting time for ECAC hockey. As Ed noted, coming off of last year, 6 months ago in Pittsburgh, where we had an all-league final, which was tremendous, and we had 3 teams in the tournament. And as I don't know if Ed noted, our teams went 8. Union, Quinnipiac, and Yale went 8-2 in the NCAA tournament last year. The only 2 losses being to teams in our league. So it was a very special year, memorable certainly from our standpoint, and we're looking forward to a memorable year this year as well. More than a year ago, in August, we announced that we would return to Lake Placid. We spent 10 years here, 1994 through 2002, if I have my dates right, 93 to 2002. And when we left in 2002 and we moved to Albany, for a lot of reasons and variables in play, it seemed like the right thing to do. We spent 8 years in Albany, and then we spent 3 years later in Atlantic City. And from the time we left in 2002, I have to commend Ted and his staff. The relationship with our league was tremendous. The folks here in Lake Placid continued to pursue our league, continually stating that this was home of ECAC hockey. They wanted it to be our home. And in August of 2012, we've come full circle, and the time is upon us now with the season starting. We are here in Lake Placid. We're thrilled to be here. We're looking forward to a great championship at the conclusion of our season. And again, I just want to publicly acknowledge the ORTA staff and Ted for 10 years of pursuit and a great relationship, and we look forward to continuing it. Thank you very much. You know, just touching on that before I introduce Ted, Lake Placid, for those who have been here, they know it's a special place. If you've never been, those who are watching live on the stream, come to Lake Placid. You'll feel I don't know, there's just something in the air here. And it's said by a cliche that you can never go home, but we are home, and we've come, I've been here a couple times over 10 years, and glad to be here. And again, with having said that, we are home, and I want to thank Ted and introduce Ted for a few remarks at this moment. Thank you, Ted.
Steve, thank you for those words. We got our start to the hockey season here just last week, and the Philadelphia Flyers were here training. And as Peter Laviolette said, the head coach, he said, there's not a better facility, not a better staff, not a better town than what he found right here to get his team all started for the season. And we pledge the same thing for your experience here for your championship event in March. So, I'm glad that I was with Orta when all the years when the hockey championship was here, and I'm very, very pleased to be still here now that you're back with us. And we're very proud to be your host, and can't wait to see you back on the ice here in March. So thank you for being back here, and thank you for your faith in our abilities and trust. Thank you.
Thanks, Ed. Before we start fielding some questions, we're going to meet our 12 coaches who are joining us today. Our conference has always had pretty strong roots, as is evident by this group of coaches, as we have 6 of them coaching at their alma mater, and 9 of them played as student athletes in the conference. First, Brendan Whittet from Brown. He's coaching at his alma mater. Clarkson's head coach, Casey Jones, begins his 3rd season with the Golden Knights. Colgate's Donnie Vaughn, who's amassed over 300 wins. Mike Schaefer entering his 19th season for the Big Red. Bob Gaudette coaching at his alma mater, Dartmouth. Someone who's had success as a player on the college level, professional level, and international level. Ted Donato at Harvard. Bobby Pryor, beginning his 3rd season with Princeton. Reigning Tim Taylor Award winner as the league's Coach of the Year, Rand Pecknold. Seth Appert, who took over the reins at RPI in the 2006-07 season. Greg Carville from St. Lawrence, who's guiding the program into its next chapter. Rick Bennett, who's helped Union claim the last 2 Whitelaw Cups awarded to the annual postseason champion. He's entering his 3rd season behind the bench for the Dutchman. And Keith Elaine, who has led Yale to 4 NCAA tournament appearances in 7 years at Yale. Before we take some questions for the coaches, let's find out some results of our preseason polls. First, the coaches poll. This was actually the first time in our league's history that we had 6 teams receive a first place vote. First is number 1, Yale. They received 5 first place votes in a total of 103 points. Coming in second was Rensselaer. They received 2 first place votes and 102 points. We had a tie for the 3rd spot, actually, with Quinnipiac and Union. They each received 2 first place votes and 93 points. Cornell was in the number 5 spot, receiving 1 first place vote and 89 points. Harvard coming in at number 6 with 67 points. Dartmouth in the number 7 spot, receiving 1 first place vote and 64 total points. Brown, number 8 with 46 points. Colgate, number 9 with 44 points. Number 10 was St. Lawrence, receiving 43 points. Princeton was in the number 11 spot with 26 points, and Clarkson was in the number 12 spot with 22 points. Now it's time for our preseason coaches all-conference selection. There's some familiar faces on this particular squad. Our goaltender that the coaches selected for preseason all-conference, Jason Castor from Rensselaer. Defenseman Shane Gustafsberg from Union, and defenseman Joachim Ryan from Cornell. Our forwards, Kenny Agostino from Yale, Greg Carey from St. Lawrence, and Andrew Kaloff from Princeton. And now it's time to find out our media selections. Each season, Ken Schott from the Schenectady Daily Gazette spearheads our ECAC Hockey Beat Writers Association process for putting this poll together. Ken, if you want to pop up here, I'll have you read it for us, please.
Thanks, Ed. Thank you, Ed, and it's good to be back up here in Lake Placid. I promise not to have a heart attack like I did in 2002 when I was here. Or now we just say upper body injury, right? For the first time since 2004, the media and the coaches disagree on the top team in the polls. Our media poll was led by RPI with 18 of 33 first place votes and 367 points. Yale came in second with 5 first place votes and 334 points. Quinnipiac was third with 6 first place votes and 292 points. Union's fourth with 3 first place votes and 287 points. Cornell and Dartmouth tied for fifth with 238 points each. Cornell got a first place vote. St. Lawrence was seventh with 212. Brown eighth with 188. Colgate ninth with 125. Harvard 10th with 108. Princeton 11th with 102. And Clarkson 12th with 83 points. The all-conference, preseason all-conference media team, we agreed on a couple of the forwards, Greg Carey of St. Lawrence and Kenny Agostino of Yale. The media decided on Brown Jr. forward Matt Larito. The defensive end dominated by players from the Capital Region. RPI goalie Jason Kasdorf leading the way, last year's Rookie of the Year. And the defensemen are from Union, Shane Gossesbear and Matt Bodie. Thank you very much for having me up here, Ed.
Thanks, Ken. We appreciate you putting that together for us each year. Right now, we're going to take some questions for the coaches. Again, a lot of the questions will be coming in via our private chat line, and they've been coming in for the last week or so. I'll start us off with a few questions from the private chat line, and then we'll get to some media members in attendance. Just raise your hand out there for John, and remember to identify yourself and your affiliation. First question comes from Tim. This is for Coach Elaine at Yale. The question is, last March you brought the Bulldogs back from Atlantic City losses that most insiders were counting you out. Your last World Championship squad rebounded in a similar fashion to capture a medal in Buffalo. What's been the primary message that you've been telling these two particular squads to rebound to such success?
I think for me, being an old goaltender, I had to learn early on how to respond after a bad goal or two because I let in a few of those. So I think I bring that process to coaching as well. And, in both of those teams, the day after our games, we do a post-mortem and we talk about what we did well and what we did poorly, what we need to do moving forward, and we put that game to rest. And, that's a process that we do all season long. So being able to do that in the playoffs wasn't any different for us.
Thanks, Coach. I'll do one more question, then we'll field some questions out there. This question came in a few days ago from Matt, not sure of the affiliation, but it's for Rand. Coming into the 2013-14 season, you're going to be losing 11 seniors. What is the degree of difficulty, do you think, in keeping a team together in the world of college hockey these days?
We obviously we got cleaned out pretty good, losing 11 seniors, some real good ones there, and Eric Hartzell and 4 defensemen and some pretty good forwards up front, Langlois and some others. So I don't think it's so much for us about keeping our team together. This will be a brand new team for us, a lot of new faces, a lot of new bodies. We certainly have some good players coming back, and we like our freshmen, but we'll have to forge a new identity. We've got to find a new goaltender, and early part of the season will be fun and exciting for us, trying to play some freshmen, get them in the lineup because we have to play them. But again, it's every 4 years we have this big class that leaves, and every 4 years we got to figure out a way to be good again. So it's a good challenge for us, and we're looking forward to it.
Thanks, Coach. I'm going to stay with one other question that kind of relates to the previous one. These questions will be directed to Donnie Vaughn and Mike Schaefer, who have big incoming classes this year of, I believe, 10 recruits. Do you guys think the dynamic of your team will change and your preparation will change because you have so many recruits coming in, so many young freshmen? I'll start with Donnie because I know last year you guys had 3 of your 4 top scorers were freshmen.
Yeah, I mean, and that sophomore class will be, a big part of our team this year as well, moving forward. But yeah, I think most of our programs try to create a culture and an identity, and I think in many cases we try and recruit players that fit that mold, if you will, and we've tried to do that with this class. Now, that said, 10 new faces in the program, and many of them are going to have to play. There'll be a steep learning curve, but we'll try and do a lot of the same things that we've done, for years in terms of the consistency of our play and get those guys on board quickly. But that's a challenge, and like Rand, we'll have to try and find our identity early and hope that those young guys can contribute right away if we're going to have some success out of the gate.
Great, thanks.
Sounds good. It is. They're freshmen are freshmen, and then I think as coaches, when we always look back at your games at the start of the year, I think it's always surprising when you look out there, you see some guys that you had killing penalties or you had them in roles and they couldn't sustain it throughout the course of the year. So it's as a group of freshmen, they'll come in, they'll make mistakes, but it's up to the upperclassmen. That's where you're really looking for your improvement, is not from the 10 freshmen, but you're looking for them to survive and learn, but you're looking really for the improvement of your returner players. And that's where you think you get the biggest jump in your talent is your sophomores through your seniors, and we're looking forward to that this year.
Thanks, Mike. We'll open it up to questions on the floor. Just raise your hand. John will pop over to you, please.
Ken Shaw from the Schenectady Gazette. I want to ask Donnie, Mike, and Bob, since you guys have been around the longest in this league, Yale winning the championship, and obviously the new world order of ECAC hockey. I mean, how important was it for Yale to win for pride for this league, and how important going forward with all the changes going on and around college hockey? This league is now probably the most stable we've seen in a long time.
Thanks, Ken. It's Bob Godet from Dartmouth. We've known for a long time. I've been involved in the league for 30-some-odd years between coaching and playing, and this has been just an outstanding league from top to bottom. Unbelievably competitive, great traditions, obviously a huge academic component to our student athletes, and a great rivalry. So, it was awesome to Yale to win the national championship. It was great to have Quinnipiac battling them for the national championship. There were some fabulous teams. Union was outstanding, making the NCAA tournament, playing very, very well. So it's an exciting league, and it's what we expected. I think I can speak for the other coaches on that.
You want to hear from all of us? Okay. I think for the people that we have to change the mentality is you guys, the media. And I think that, looking at it over the course of time, I agree with Bob that the level of the competition in our league is phenomenal right now. And I think that what probably happens most across the country that frustrates us as coaches is that you go in and you lose to an opponent in our league and you see the media in the national polls. We drop 5 or 6 places in the polls with one loss, and our coaches know in our league right now how good our teams are, and it's not the fact that Yale won the national championship, it's the fact that how Union, Quinnipiac, and Yale dominated the national tournament. It wasn't they just went in and won it, is the fashion that they won that. And I think that's what across the college hockey is coach has been in this league now 19 years, is very proud to see the teams that have success in the non-conference during the year, but to see that level of competition going in there and see those 3 teams, how well they played and how they just went through there, and it seemed like, from the outside watching how easy it looked. I know it wasn't, but how easy it looked that they played so well at the national level. That's what's exciting about the ECAC right now.
I can't add a lot more, Ken, to that. I just, the league's in a really good place after having been in this league for a long time. I think a lot of that credit needs to go to the coaches in this league. I think we have some of the finest coaches in the country. I think what helps us a little bit more now, and it's going to be a topic here moving forward with the new conferences, is actually scheduling. And, I think that's a big challenge for our league. You've got teams in the country now that are going to be buying home games, and I think that's a challenge for us. It's a huge advantage to those teams that can do that. And let's face it, your schedule is almost as important now as recruiting. That gives you the best chance to get into the tournament, and if we could start to get some more of those teams in our buildings, I think that benefits us, gives us a better chance to win, puts us in a better situation in terms of seeding for the tournament, and I think that'll be a challenge moving forward. But Yale winning the championship last year was phenomenal for this league, and shouldn't have come as much of a surprise. It certainly didn't to any of us. Thanks.
We'll take another question from the media. Ed?
Ed Weaver from the Troy Record. Mike, Don, and Bob, would you sign, I know you don't want to say that the league is the strongest in the country right now, but is it the strongest in 20 years? It's stronger than it's been since the early 90s, would you say?
I think it has to be. You look at the media poll. I mean, you know, I think you start to look at a couple of different things. Look at last year's ECAC championship. You know, you're talking about Brown, who was playing unbelievable hockey in the ECAC championships last year, going toe-to-toe with the teams that went on and had national success. And then you look at, you know, the coaches poll this year with 5 teams getting a first place. I mean, it was a topic on our staff, and I'm sure it was on other staffs, like who are you going to pick to be first, and who are you going to pick to be 9th, and who are you going to pick to be 11th? It's not fair. And I think that you look around this, you know, table and you see these coaches, it's going to be a tough year of night in, night out competition. But that's what I think made, as Bobby said earlier, made our team so good down the stretch drive. But it's definitely, no question, the last 19, 20 years, it's the strongest it's ever been.
Taking one more question out from the media members. All right, I'll jump in with one for Coach Whittet. This is from Mark at the Providence Journal. After a flood of injuries last season, what changes did you make or adjustments in a way for your players during this off-season to try to avoid that?
That's easy to do. I don't think it was so much off-season conditioning or training or anything of that nature. I think it's just when you need a little bit of luck. I mean, we had 2 guys go down that were regulars with ACL injuries that I hadn't seen since, you know, for a long time. So I mean, those are just happenstance. I think moving forward, we prefer those not to happen because the adjustments are such that you're playing guys that you weren't expecting to play in those specific roles. But by and large, I mean, again, it's not so much stuff that we've done in the off season. It's just you know, hoping for good luck and good things to happen. Great, thanks. This question comes in from Nick on the chat line to Bob Pryor. You played in Lake Placid as a student athlete. When you were in the league as a player, what does it mean to you for the league to be returning to this historic venue?
You know, personally, I think it's a great venue, and I had a tremendous experience here as a student athlete playing in the championship. Would have liked a different result at the end of the day, but it was first-class treatment, and it's something that I'll never forget. It's an experience that I look forward to other student athletes having. This is a great venue, and we're really excited about it.
Thanks, Bob. We'll take another question from our chat line. This is from Jeff at SB Nation. This is for Rand. What is your goaltending situation this year for the Bobcats?
We have 3 goalies. You know, we'll kind of play it out as we roll with the season. Michael Gartig didn't get much time last year behind Hartzell because he was just so good. But I think Gartsy's going to be our guy this year. We'll see how the other 2 come in and if they can battle him a little bit. But he was a highly recruited kid out of British Columbia. His last year juniors, he was 41-4, and you know, he's working his tail off. Real competitive goaltender. It's you know, we like him a lot. We liked him when we landed him as a recruit, and we like him even more now. It's just he doesn't have the game experience. So we'll put our faith in him out of the gate, and then we got Brady and Jake backing him up, and hopefully those guys can push him a little bit and maybe get some starts as the season goes on.
Thanks, Coach. Another question that came in on our chat line. This is for Coach Ted Donato. Your freshman class has received quite the recognition by the media and whatnot and ranking system. Is there a pressure on them to perform?
Yeah, I do think there's a pressure on them to perform, mainly because, you know, we graduated a good number of guys but I do think, as I think Mike Schaefer alluded to earlier, year in, year out, I think history has shown that, that your team, wins and loses games because of your upperclassmen. So I think, we're looking for our returners to make a big jump in performance, and we have a lot of new players in the lineup each and every night, so we're excited about that. It'll take maybe a little time to get everybody on the same page, but it's an exciting group, and we're looking forward to the season.
Thanks. Questions out there? All right. I'll take a question off the chat line for head coach Bob Gaudette from Nate at uscho.com. The Big Green faded a little bit down the stretch, hit a little skid. What do you need to do to have your team be more consistent this year?
It's coaching. It's all coaching. We had some injuries in the second half, and like all of us, we play in a really tough league with an incredibly tough schedule, and a lot of it is luck. Staying healthy, working on consistency. The best teams are consistent, so we just have to continue to battle along. But a lot of it does hinge on having healthy players down the stretch, and every single game that we play is against an outstanding opponent. This league is top notch, so we're looking forward to getting after it coming up shortly.
Great, thanks. Next question for Greg Carville, head coach at St. Lawrence. Coach, this is also coming in from the chat line. Coach, can you tell us a little bit about your locker room this year and what you expect from some of your key players?
Well, obviously, as you've mentioned, our key player is Greg Carey. He led the country in goals last year, and there was some concern that he wouldn't return, but he's a very mature and intelligent young man. He's actually one of the top scholar athletes at our school. And to give him credit, he knew he wasn't ready to move on, and he came back to campus. He's lost 10 pounds. He's in tremendous condition, so we're excited to see what he can do to elevate his game. Our club is in a transition period, this being my second year, and we also have a huge incoming class. We have 15 returners and 11 new faces. So the other coaches talked about their returning players having to carry them. I think we're in a little bit of a different position. We lost 2 All-American players, in George Hughes and Kyle Flanagan, and our recruiting class, we're hoping to fill those holes with newer players rather than returners. So our team this year is going to really rely on how quickly our incoming players can adjust to college level and the pace and the intensity. So I imagine we'll have growing pains early on in the season, but I think for our team, Greg Carey and our incoming class are going to determine our success.
Thanks, Coach. Ed?
Seth, can you comment on the makeup of your team with the depth at forward you have among your sophomore and junior classes?
Yeah, that's the strength of our program in numbers right now is in our sophomore and junior classes. I think there's 17 of our 26 young men are in those 2 classes. A lot of our go-to guys from an offensive perspective are in those classes. And those, you talk about seniors, you need your senior leadership. But sophomore and junior year, you still have big developmental steps you can take. As well as some of those young men performed last year, especially in the second half for us. It's going to be critical that through this summer and their off-season training and then through the beginning of the year that those guys in those sophomore junior classes take steps from their game last year and don't return as the same players they were before, but march forward towards trying to be more complete hockey players who can try to help us win more hockey games.
Thanks, Seth. Ken?
For Rick, you obviously lost some key players, some expected, some unexpected. Is this a transition year for this team, or is this team still looking to build upon the 2 back-to-back championships?
Well, we're just, I think the word came up, is consistency throughout some of these coaches here. And,
I just think that's the name of the game. And if we have to rely on our freshmen this season, it's going to be a long ride. And, you know, that's the last time I checked, you're not going to put a C or an A on freshmen. So, you know, our upperclassmen have to, you know, we're really kind of step it up this year. So we're going to be relying on them a ton. And whatever we lost this year, so be it. Every coach here has lost some players, so I don't think that's an excuse at all.
Thanks, Rick. Other questions? I have a couple more from our private chat line. This one for Cornell head coach Mike Schaefer. Last year was a bit of a down year in terms of Big Red standards, which is rare for Cornell. What did you and your staff take away from last year, and how do you make your players returning learn from that?
That's yeah, it was a downer. But wanted to make you make your players understand, I think, how good the league is. I mean, I think that you look at some of our inconsistencies was coming back-to-back games and coming off big games or winning a game at Madison Square Gardens and then playing. And I think that that opponent that you talk about the consistency, you know, time and time again here. But I think adversity is good. It's been a while that we've had that kind of 7-game losing streak. Was the longest ever been a coach there, and I think you learn a lot about yourself. And I think that that stung not being at home in playoffs. It stung not getting to the championship, and so kind of get back and kind of reestablish an identity this year. And that's you know, that coming off that adversity, that's exciting. And adversity, and so we're looking forward to the year and trying to reestablish some of the good things that have happened over the course of time.
Thanks, Mike. Another question in from our private chat line. This one directed to Casey Jones at Clarkson. You had a lot of close calls last year for your season with the Golden Knights. You guys fell short 6 times in 1-goal games and recorded ties 7 times last year. How do you turn those games into wins?
Well, I think we're in an interesting time here. Obviously, the league's in a great place. It's tough league right now to be rebuilding. So we talk about that all the time. That you know, there's really small margin of error on a nightly basis, and that can come down to discipline, can come down to just like guys are talking about with the consistency. That's obviously been our problem. Is just backing up and handling success from one night to the next. That's probably our biggest issue. Unlike other guys that you've heard talking here with big incoming classes. You know, we returned some leadership in our senior class and some confident players, and I thought that's been this is our second recruiting class as a coaching staff at Clarkson, and I found that guys were looking over their shoulder a little bit at our first class coming through the door, and now we have that some little bit of confidence in our older guys that they understand the stewardship that needs to be with your program for consistency to embrace the people coming through the door, and I just think that's a step that our culture's kind of getting closer to get in place here with our current seniors, and hopefully that'll carry us through the close games and so that the margin for error is a little bit less for us this year in terms of being able to perform under pressure and backing up with our consistency.
Thanks, Coach. Any questions out there? I have a bunch here, so I can keep going. Mark from the Providence Journal has a question for Coach Whitted. A year ago, you guys really didn't know what to expect from your goaltenders. It seems like you're going to be in the same situation this year. Do you expect to have an opening night goaltender that you're going to carry through the first part of the season?
I mean, again, we lost a good player in Anthony Borelli that was tremendous for us last year, and hadn't played for probably 3 years, so he kind of waited his turn, and when he got it, he was excellent. But no, we have no preconceived notions about who's going to be our starting goaltender. We'll let it sort itself out in practice and see how it goes the first game with whoever we choose, and then reevaluate and go from there. And maybe somebody grabs a position and they run with it. But we have 3 on the roster, and they're gonna have to battle for their time.
Thanks, Coach. Anything out there? A few of our media members chimed in and made mention of how Dartmouth and Quinnipiac each went on European trips this year, and they asked if there was anything special about the trip in terms of team bonding, and basically wanted to know about some of that experience. Coach Gaudette, if you want to start us off with that.
Yeah, it was just an unbelievable experience for our team. So we went for 10 days in late August, early September to northern Italy and Switzerland. And it was much better than I could even predicted in terms of the team building. The guys, we had 21 upperclassmen that came. The freshmen couldn't come because of NCAA rules. So, you know, for the returning guys in our team to be together, to play really, really outstanding teams, and then to get the cultural experience of going to Venice and going to Rome, being at the Vatican, the Colosseum, Lake Como. We just had an unbelievable experience as a team. It was something that was well worth every dollar spent.
Thanks, Rand.
Yeah, I would echo Bob. We actually did a similar trip. We went, I think, about 10 days before they did, but through northern Italy, into Switzerland for a few games, and it was just it was an awesome experience for, I think, not only my student athletes, but also for a lot of members of Quinnipiac. We had almost 80 people go on the trip, and it just was a great experience, great cultural. Venice was awesome, Rome was awesome, even some of the smaller places, Bassano del Grappa, which, you know, I never even heard of before. We spent 4 days there. That was one of our bases, but it was an outstanding experience and something that we look forward to doing again in 4 years from now, 2017.
Thanks. Anything out there? All right, I have another question in from our private chat line. This one for Ted Donato. You have so much experience as a student athlete and a coach. Is there an upswing that players now can take away from playing college hockey in this day and age?
Well, I think the college hockey has changed quite a bit in relation to having that opportunity to play professionally. I think we're up over 30% of the National Hockey League has played in the NCAA. So I think as I look around the table here today, I see a great number of our programs in our league are represented in the National Hockey League. I think our players are also represented in all different fields because we have some great schools. So I think it is a dream for a lot of these kids to play in the National Hockey League. I think the ECAC in particular provides a great opportunity not only to play in the National Hockey League, but to guarantee yourself a certain opportunity for success, because I think some great universities are represented in our league. So I think the ECAC really does stand for what is very good about college sports.
Thanks, Teddy. Keith, do you want to comment about that as well? I had another question come in saying, is there more out there for a recruit for playing college hockey in terms of growth and development?
Not more than the ECAC, in my opinion. I think, as Teddy alluded to, not only do we have fine hockey programs, but we have outstanding universities in our league. Our league, more than any other league, hockey is the signature sport on our campuses, and I think that's that's an environment that our student athletes want to play in. And many of them will go on to National Hockey League careers, but many of our graduates will make far more money in their chosen field outside of hockey because of the educations that they receive at our universities, and I think that's important to mention. I think it's also important to mention that if you look at, off the top of my head, management people in the National Hockey League and their affiliation to the ECAC, I mean, it's really crazy. Pittsburgh's GM is an ECAC guy. Columbus' 2 assistant GM and GM are ECAC guys. Minnesota's is an ECAC guy. And that's just off the top of my head, but you can go down and down. Boston Bruins is an ECAC guy. So our league develops hockey people in all phases of the game.
Thanks, Coach. Anything out there? Building on that, we have a bunch of our student athletes, as you alluded to, that are playing in the NHL or playing on the professional level in some capacity. Do you guys keep in touch with your former student athletes that are playing on different levels? Bobby, we'll start with you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was actually, the lockout last year was obviously down for hockey, but it allowed us an opportunity. We get 5 of the guys back that are NHL players, and we got them back for a game. We played the University of Vermont on TV, and we had 5 guys back, and it's great to stay in touch with the guys. they were great representatives of our college, but also our conference in the ECAC, and they're out there in the highest level of hockey in the world, and they're doing great things, not only as hockey players, and I'm talking about all of our guys, all of our league players are out there in the community doing charity work, and I think it's just outstanding. And it's great to stay in touch with them. You turn on TV at night and get to watch a few of your players and watch a few of the league players play. It creates that excitement that you have in the game, and I think it's awesome.
Great. Anyone else keep in touch with their former players and stuff? Make it a point to? Coach Schaaf, want to comment?
Yep. Yeah, I mean, it's obviously they're great representatives of the university, but it's not just because they play in the NHL. I mean, you stay in touch with all your student athletes. That's part of coaching at college, is that you're staying in touch with guys that are in the NHL, but as Keith mentioned, you're staying in touch with guys that are doctors and lawyers and in their field. It's not just the fact that you stay in touch because they're playing, and I think that's a unique part of coaching a college hockey team, is because you see them all grow up and be in all different fields.
Thanks. Anything else out there? I have a few other questions that'll fire away at the coaches that came in on our chat line. For Rick Bennett at Union, there doesn't seem to be too many gaps from top to bottom in the league, as evident by the number of first place votes received in both polls. Can you comment on what you think the signature of our conference has developed into, and what type of brand we're going to see this year each weekend?
I think you played, obviously we get 22 league games, and I think it's a battle every game for those 22 league games, and I think that's what makes our league so special, and that's why I think our league is the best league in the country. And then let's not even talk about the playoffs, because that's its own separate entity. But again, I just think it's 22 league battles, and you have to be ready to go. And we've all mentioned the word consistency, so I'll say it again. I think that's huge for our league.
Thanks, Coach. Anything from you guys out there? All right. Next question for Greg Carville at St. Lawrence. I know a lot of you guys that came into town came from various recruiting trips and whatnot. The question is, what positive impact does Yale have winning the NCAA tournament, the league having 2 Frozen Four teams, et cetera, have on the recruiting trail for you guys?
It's huge, and again, I'm the new guy in the block and kind of learning as I go here, but to be able to sit down with a kid and tell them, listen, you don't have to sacrifice academics or hockey. When you come to this league, you're getting first rate in both of those, and the fact that our league did so well in the NCAA, is proof positive of that. So it makes our job easier, recruiting wise. Especially St. Lawrence being a smaller school, but our conference success and the limited success we had in the conference last year definitely helps.
Thanks, Coach. Next question in from our private chat line for Donnie Vaughn. Star Rink has been home to the Raiders since the 1959 season. Can you tell us a little bit about the plans, the fundraising effort for the new facility and rink at Colgate?
Yeah, it's an exciting time for us at Colgate. Our board approved the fundraising phase and construction of a new facility last year, and it was in part we had to fundraise privately $25 million of the close to $40 million total, and we are very, very close to hitting that mark. And our expectations are that the new facility will be under construction a year from now. There's still a little bit of work to do on that, but it's a very exciting time for us. I mean, Star is, a lot of character, that building, but it's getting a little bit tired after 53 years, and we're really excited about moving into a new building. I think what it says too, though, is I think it's very important in our league. We've seen the commitment from other schools in this conference, and I think that says a lot about what hockey means to the institutions in our league, and that can be said too for Colgate. Our administration realizes that we love the affiliation with the ECAC being in that conference, and hockey means a whole lot to our people. So we're excited about the prospect of a new building, and can't wait to get in it.
Thanks, Coach. Next question from Nate at uscho.com for Casey. How are you guys going to generate more offense this season, and what do you expect out of Greg Lewis in his second year?
Well, I'll be perfectly honest with you. Like offensively, some of the statistics last year, we were actually okay in some departments. We actually didn't end on a great note offensively last year with the last couple of weekends. But it comes down to, I think some injuries, but there's no excuses. I understand that. I honestly believe as a team, our identity has to get better. We have to keep the puck out of our net more. We finished in the bottom of a lot of the defensive statistics, which led to a lot of one-goal losses in a lot of regards. So I think obviously, I think we have more depth up front now, competition for positions, which obviously makes your job easier as a coach because it's on a daily basis. We'll compete harder, and hopefully it'll give us some depth, some movement for guys when they're not consistent, have some movement in our lineup. Obviously, in nets, we have competition in nets this year. Our statistics in nets weren't where they need to be for us, obviously, to succeed at the top of the league. So obviously, with two new incoming players there pushing Louis in nets, will lead to. He's had a good off season. His body broke down a little bit last year in his first year with the grind of the first year. So the competition this year should keep him on his toes and leaves to be better in both those regards. But first and foremost, our discipline and our defensive statistics have to improve just as much as our offense.
Thanks, Casey. Next question, again from our private chat line. On January 11th, Harvard will be playing Yale at Madison Square Garden. It's dubbed the rivalry on ice. How did that game come about? Keith, if you want to just touch base on that.
Yeah, that game has actually been several years in the making, and it's amazing really how long the process has taken. But there was a group in New York that wanted to promote the game and really wanted to celebrate the rivalry between our two schools and in a place where a lot of our alums call home now, New York City. In Madison Square Garden, which is a great, some people consider the greatest arena in the world. But 3 or 4 years of negotiations, we settled on a non-conference game, and this will be the first of 2. We'll play again next year as well.
Thanks. Teddy, you want to touch base on that?
Yeah, I think we're very excited to have an opportunity to play the defending national champs in the world's most famous arena, as it's called, and a great rivalry in Harvard and Yale. As Keith said, we have a great number of alumni in that, or alums in that area. So we're excited. I think it's a great exposure opportunity for our league as well. And I expect that it'll be one of many games that should be very exciting in ECAC this year.
Thanks. We just had a general question come in regarding community relations projects. I know in the past some of our student athletes had a drive for like Goals for Good. I know Princeton in the past has created a reading program. Is there anything out there that any of your student athletes have already tagged that they're going to get behind? Danny, Coach? Seth?
Our guys at RPI, we're going to work with Defending the Blue Line, which is a charity that supports military families. The military families who have a member deployed overseas, it helps offset the children's cost to participate in ice hockey, either through equipment or their fees, etc. It's close to our heart. Our athletic director, Jim Knowlton, is a military man, served our country for 26 years. And Luke Karate, a junior defenseman for us, his dad just finished his 4th tour in Afghanistan. So those two make it a little more personal for our guys.
Anybody else? Rick, are you guys heading back to do hockey in Harlem, you think, this year?
No, just due to scheduling, just wasn't allowed this past season, but we will go back the following. We did a Coaches versus Cancer last year. I think we're one of the first hockey teams to do that. So we're going to stay with that one for this upcoming season here.
Thanks. A social media question for you guys. We know Seth, Greg Carville, Bob Pryor, you guys use Twitter a lot. What are you using it for? What are the benefits of that? And do you follow your own student athletes' Twitter accounts? Bob, if you want to start us off with that.
Yeah, I think the benefits are just more visibility, more of a connection between your program, your fans, things like that. I just think it's progression of technology, and it's important to stay on the top of those things and help your program be more visible. As far as following my own student athletes, yeah, if they do, and they're great, and it's the way that they communicate now. So it's something that we feel that's very beneficial to stay on top of, and we also have to educate them on what what kind of consequences are out there if you don't manage it properly. And our SID does a great job of that, and she had a meeting with them already about what it is that was appropriate and wasn't, and our guys do a really good job with it. So I think it's a great tool for us.
Greg?
I quickly made a rule that I don't follow my guys until they graduate. I don't need to follow everybody. For me, I never did Twitter until I came back to St. Lawrence, and our women's coach does a tremendous job with social media, so I just jumped on board. For me, a big part of it is alumni relations. For me to connect, guys who graduated in the last 10 years are more likely to be on Twitter. But the biggest thing is exposure. Being in a remote location up in northern New York, it's not so easy for kids to get to campus. So if I can feed out information where it's easy for them to get a better feel for our program, that's probably the biggest reason.
Thanks. Seth?
Yeah, not much different. Probably more for the connectivity to the alumni, which I think is real nice to be able to quickly connect. And I do not follow our current student athletes.
All right, great. Just a few notes from the league side. We do have an online store that we're already featuring championship merchandise on. You can get pucks and pins on there already. We will be launching our new design for our website any day now. We're just ironing out some kinks in terms of stats and scheduling, but that'll be up any day now. So please feel free to check it out and give us some feedback on that, as we appreciate it. It has a nice fresh look, and we're looking forward to that. Tickets for our men's championship will be going on sale the beginning of November. We'll be sending out a release on that. We're excited about that and to get started to sell those. Our tournament dates, March 21st and 22nd. There'll be no third place game this year on the men's side. Anything else out there? Any other questions? Let me just check. So that's about all I had coming in on the private chat line. I know we have some media members out there that might want to do some one-on-ones with you guys. But on behalf of the league staff, we want to thank the Order staff for hosting us. This was our first time, as we mentioned, doing the stream and a press conference in this situation, and I think it went pretty good for our first time. We'll be having lunch in the Lookout Gallery up on the 3rd floor after this, so everyone is welcome to join us up there. And we do appreciate you coming out and watching us live on our website. Thank you.
Thanks. That was good. Yeah. That was, I'm going to go with the best press conference we've ever had. Thanks, sir. I appreciate your help. Hopefully it's good.